Oh, hope he picks up. Hope he's not too disappointed.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Pip. It's Shaun from Volsungur here. How are you doing? Actually, wait, don't answer that. That's a silly question, isn't it? I know you'll be really disappointed. Competition favourites, knocked down the first knockout round by Juventus. Also, somewhat bottling the Premier League. I know you probably don't really want to talk about it too much, so I should probably stop talking about it myself. Just wondered if potentially you could actually help me have a happy ending myself this time. Just wondering if there's any tips that, like Juventus, anything that you can tell me about them, how they play, anything that wouldn't show up on the scout report potentially. Like, in the end, I just want you to be able to help me so that you can be like a real background player potentially, like sort of like the album credits, if we win the Champions League for a third straight season. So is there anything maybe I might not have picked up on that Juventus do? Is there anything that can help us for this one?
Nope.
No? Are you sure?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Look, yeah, okay, it's all right. I was just trying to give you a chance for a happy ending, Pep. That's all. Yeah, you do seem to struggle at that, though, don't you, mate? Yeah. Oh well, good luck for the rest of the season. And while I've got you, how is the family? I didn't mean it like that. I heard they were sick. Didn't mean that. Don't take it so personally, Pep.
Looking for trouble and fights, but you found me. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I'm glad you're someone to rely on, someone to rely on. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I could be someone to rely on, someone to rely on, someone to rely on.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 185 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode is the quarterfinal of the Champions League for 2037 as we do take on Juventus, as well as that HK are taking on Leicester City down in the Europa League. And as you can see on screen, we do have the NxGn list for 2037 and a few transfers off the back of this list as well. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we are starting off with the NxGn list here for 2037 before we do get into a preview of the quarterfinal of the Champions League against Juventus. If you missed how we got here over the past few episodes against Liverpool, I'll leave a link to yesterday's one up in the top right corner. But first things first, we do have the NxGn list. Just a few players from Volsungur on the list this season, and both of them are currently out on loan away from the club. The first of those is inside the top 10. That is Jakub Dobies. I believe he was the player they are referring to in that little line there as the Czech Camellia potentially, because he is the highest ranked Czech, a promising midfielder who we did sign only a few episodes ago. He is listed 9th on the NxGn list, so he could be quite a promising midfielder at Volsungur. And the other player on the list, I believe, for the second or third time now, and that is Krishnik Abazi, a left winger who is out on loan at Nuremberg in the 2 Bundesliga. 2.5-star current ability, only 3.5-star potential for him, so he might actually be a player that we do look to sell if that potential does start to drop anymore. But he is ranked 29th on the NxGn list. The 2 Volsungur players there on the NxGn list here for 2037. And going forward, prior to this first leg of the quarterfinal against Juventus, you can see here on screen that we have actually signed 2 players, both from the same club, off of that NxGn list, both for a fee of around about £750,000 each when you do average things out. The first of those is Serge Antoine. He comes to us from Beerschot in Belgium. 16-year-old left midfielder, has a little bit more potential than the player that you did just see there in Abazi, and he does look like a fairly promising player with that 4-star potential, albeit 3 stars of it gold, and 1.5-star current ability. Not a bad pickup there for less than £1 million. And the same can be said for Bob Wouters, albeit he doesn't quite have the same potential as our other signing there out of Beerschot, but 1.5-star current ability and that 3-star white potential, 2-star gold potential. Does already look like he has quite a few good attributes though as a striker, that finishing, first touch, and teamwork in particular already in the green. That passing not far off either on 15, so he might be a player who plays a little bit better in game than his star rating there would suggest. With those are the 2 players so far anyway that we have signed off of the NxGn list there for 2037. And on the other side, off the back of selling Rune Ballo, as we let you guys know towards the end of yesterday's episode, we have also let go of one of our youngsters who came through one of our youth intakes, Ricky Goodmanson. He has gone to HK, a centre back, for a fee of £250,000 when he was at the club. Only had that 3-star potential with 1.5 stars of that being gold, so I thought it would make sense there to let him go to HK, seeing as he wasn't going to get much game time here, despite the fact that he is only 18 years old. But that does wrap up the NxGen/transfer business that we have done off the back of yesterday's episode. And before we do have a look at our opposition in today's episode in Juventus, just a quick update on what did happen in the latter stages of the deal to Bakar, of course, off the back of that second leg against Liverpool. A very tasty matchup there in the semi-finals, as we did take on Europa League quarterfinalists HK, and thankfully we did pick up a 2-0 win, 2 second half goals here. The first from the penalty spot for Adam Saki, and then Maurizio Menga sealed things there, so we picked up a 2-0 win away from home, which is actually quite a good result there against the team who are in the quarterfinals of the Europa League. And then we just got the job done over Phil Kerr in the final. Very, very iffy this one, because we did have Bruno Costa get sent off at the 31-minute mark. We do have to play a rotated team for this game a few days prior to this first leg of the quarterfinals against Juventus. But thankfully, despite the fact that not long off the back of that red card, one of our former players in Vatsdal did give them the lead there from a free kick. We did strike back twice right before halftime through both Menga and Richard Waswa, and we held on with 10 men and picked up yet another League Cup title here in Iceland. Certainly made hard work of it, but thankfully we did get the job done there and pick it up for the 15th time. But we are about to kick off the quarterfinals here of the Champions League, taking on Juventus. There you can see that potentially already it does look like if we do get past Juventus today, it might be another matchup in the semi-finals against Manchester United, the team that we've played in the final of the Champions League. The past 3 seasons, they won their first leg of their tie against AC Milan by 4-1, and on the other side of the draw, Barcelona do lead Sevilla by 1-0. PSG and Real Madrid are in the other quarterfinal, but we are about to take on Juventus. It's been a little while since we have taken on this Juventus team. We did play them in the group stages of the Champions League a little while back from memory. If we do go back and have a look at past meetings, the last time that we did play them was back in 2033, so that was 4 years ago now. That was one of the years where we did make a Champions League final without winning it. We got a draw away from home against them and then picked up a win at home. So in recent memory, our results against these guys actually aren't too bad, but all the way back in 2028, they did absolutely thump us. But we are now 9 years in the future. Our squad is a lot stronger these days, even compared to when we did have a good record against them back in 2033. And these days, they do have Zinedine Zidane in charge as well. If we go over to the tactics, you can see they play a pretty simple 4-4-2, albeit they do have some pretty good players in that team. Their front two in particular does look very strong with DeMarco and Emerson. A few interesting midfielders there. McKeev is quite a good left winger, as we did discover last season, as he was at Lille at that stage. And they've also got at the back some good centre-backs in the likes of Wozniak and Matthias de Ligt. Livramento at right back and Costa in goal is another good option. So this could actually be quite an interesting tie here. We could get pushed close, but hopefully we can beat the team which did knock out the competition favourites in Chelsea in that first knockout round. And before we get into this as well, we'll also go down to the Europa League and just remind you guys that, of course, Leicester City are taking on HK in the quarterfinals of that competition. Probably a tough ask there for HK, but they have done pretty well so far. Hopefully they can pull off an upset and make their way into the final four of the Europa League. But we're starting to get to an interesting point in the save now, where the other Icelandic teams are starting to pull a little bit of weight in European competitions. But going into the first leg of this tie against Juventus at the Allianz Stadium, we have no injury concerns going into this one. According to the summary, it should be a close contest between two evenly matched teams, but hopefully we can do what we did in the first league against Liverpool, take our lead back to Iceland and make the most of it once we do get back there. And we'll come back shortly with the team sheets for this first leg of the quarterfinals as we take on Juventus. And here are the team sheets for this first leg in Italy. There are Juventus, looking very, very similar to what we did see before on the club info page with that 4-4-2. And there we are with our best 11 still available. And hopefully, as I said, we can do what we did against Liverpool in the first leg and take a good result back to Iceland for the second leg of this quarterfinal. And 5 minutes in, we have our first highlight here. Juventus are in possession in the mostly black uniform, start to make their way forward and do get inside the final third. Good chance here for Emerson, tries to lift that to the left and over Volsungur, but thankfully pretty much straight into his path. So Juventus with the first chance, and it's still 0-0 coming up to the 10-minute mark. And about 10 minutes off the back of that first highlight, we are down the other end now for a free kick, and Filippo Donelli there unmarked at the far post, just had to hit the target there, but unfortunately goes over the top, and it's still 0-0 here after 16 minutes. And about 5 minutes shy of the half-time mark is our next highlight, so things have slowed down there since that opening 15 minutes, but we are on the attack here, and Lassana Doumbia starts to make his way forward, plays the ball there for Adam Saki, but Costa does read that well, gets down low to his right, and makes a save. Potentially Lassana Doumbia there could have just taken on the shot himself. We'll see if anything does come from the subsequent corner, but Wozniak deals with that. Still 0-0 at the 40-minute mark. And it is half-time here in the first leg of this Champions League quarter-final. Quite an even game so far. Juventus with a slightly higher XG, albeit we have had one more shot on target. So a very even game, certainly right in the mix. We're going to make one change at half-time though. Mizkic only on a 6.4 did pick up a late yellow card, so Christopher Alagard will come on for him, and hopefully we can continue to play well, just get on top, hopefully, of our Italian opposition here in the second half, and at the very least, keep things level going to that second leg in Iceland. And in fact, we have a highlight here immediately from the restart, so hopefully that change bears some immediate dividends for us here as we start to get something going here down the left-hand side, and there is the substitute in Alagard on the ball and just holds things up here on the halfway line. We'll play that back to Basaroge, now Ali Ramadan, and we're just knocking it about here in defence, and it is now Ali Ramadan who just holds things up. Nice little back flick there, and now Filippo Donelli plays that one over to Lassana Doumbia. Agatigre, nice header down there for Radenko Krolo, plays the ball forward here for Adam Saki. Good chance to start off the second half, but yet again Costa pulls off a good save, so that's a few chances now for Adam Saki. Not great ones, but just a little bit too direct there at Costa, and we do have a header. Basaroge, and that forces yet another good save there out of Costa, and we'll keep it at 0-0 early in the second half. And we have got forward to the hour mark. It's time for us to make our second substitution. Benvenu Bay today only going okay on a 6.4 rating. Bruno Costa can come on for him. And what I think we are probably likely to do here is shift Lassana Doumbia forward to the Mazzala, and Bruno Costa can go in to the box-to-box midfield role, and with a half hour left, still locked up here at 0-0 in the away leg. And with around about 15 minutes left to go in this away leg, still locked up at 0-0, we have our next highlight. We did have a throw in there, but unfortunately Juventus get on the end of that one from Berger, and they start to cut in field, although it's a poor pass straight into the path of Bruno Costa, and we get a chance here to potentially hit them on the counter-attack, and Adam Saki is through on goal, but yet again Costa comes up with a big save. He is having one heck of a game and keeps it at 0-0 with about 15 minutes left. And with 10 minutes left, I think it's time for us now to make our last substitution. Agustin Agatigre is struggling out there a little bit on a 6.4. We don't really have many out-and-out right-wing options, though, on the bench, having already used our wing spot for Christopher Alagard. So what I think we're going to do here is shift forward Radenko Krolo, because he can play there. Pedro Lemos to go in at right back for these last 10 minutes, still locked up at 0-0. And we go forward now to the 87-minute mark. It might be a late highlight here in this one. It is a goal kick to Juventus. In terms of stats, we have started to get on top of these guys in the second half, and they play out from the back there, although do lose possession, and it is a goal from Adam Saki. What a strike that is, just curves that into the top right corner, and it takes a Juventus mistake and a very good strike there from Adam Saki, and it looks like we might be taking a 1-0 lead back to Iceland. McKeeve there couldn't quite control that clearance, and it was Bruno Costa who feeds that on for Adam Saki, and we take a late 1-0 lead, just 3 minutes here of added time to get through. As you can tell by the stats, we have certainly been the better team here in the second half, and we get a little bit of fortunate reward there, and that is somewhat a bit of payback potentially for that goal, which we did give away yesterday against Liverpool. And what a strike still, though, from Adam Saki right into the top right corner, and we pick up a 1-0 win away from home. Very good second half performance. In terms of the first half, it was quite even, but it did take, as I said, a little bit of a gift, albeit still needed a very good finish, and Adam Saki did apply that finishing touch. Still cost it in goal there for Juventus. Had a very good game, but it took a wonder strike there late on to give us a 1-0 lead going back to Iceland. So that is a very timely goal, which will give us that 1-0 lead going into the second leg. Before then, we will come back, check in on how HK are getting on against Leicester City in the Europa League quarterfinals, as at the moment PSG and Real Madrid are locked up at 0-0. So we'll do a bit of an update on both the Europa League and the Champions League, the other ties in that one, before we play the second leg with a 1-0 advantage. And we are back about to play Juventus in the second leg of this Champions League quarterfinal with a 1-0 advantage. Before then, though, we're going to do a bit of a roundup of both the Europa League and the other ties in the Champions League. But first off, forgot to mention earlier, we did have to play Phil here again. This time it was in the Super Cup here in Iceland. This time, no red card, and we did pick up a slightly more comfortable win there by a scoreline of 2-0 the second half double there to Heiko Kunze. Does mean that we have already picked up a domestic double. But first things first, we are going to go down into the Europa League and see what has happened between HK and Leicester at the halfway stage. And unfortunately, even though it was the away leg, Leicester City do have quite a comfortable advantage there by 4-2. Pretty decent there from HK to score 2 goals, albeit it was 3 late goals there from Leicester City. So HK were leading that game for a little while by 2-1, but unfortunately 3 late goals there does mean that Leicester City do take a 4-2 lead, albeit when you do look at the stats, Leicester City might feel like they still were a little bit hard done by the HK, only with 2 shots in the entire game, 2 on target, and they did come away with 2 goals, but the second leg is in Iceland, so potentially HK might be able to turn that around, but are probably up against it, but certainly not being embarrassed down there as they do take on Leicester City. And if we go back up into the Champions League, you can see a quick reminder of what the scores are going into these second legs of these quarterfinal ties. We are 1-0 up, Real Madrid and PSG locked up at 0-0, and the day after we do play the second leg, it is Man United with a 4-1 advantage over AC Milan. If we can get past Juventus, they would be our opponents in the semi-finals tomorrow, and Sevilla do trail Barcelona by 1-0. But before we do go into this game, unfortunately, we do have an injury to deal with for the first time in a while. Pedro Lemos has suffered a lower back stress fracture. He is out for 7 to 8 weeks and might be missing for the remainder of this Champions League campaign. That does mean we have had to change our bench up slightly, but we'll run through that when we do get into the team sheet shortly from my arena and try and wrap this up as we hold a 1-0 lead as we are home for the second leg. And here are the team sheets for the second leg. Just one change for us on the bench with Pedro Lemos missing because of that injury. We have put Jonada onto the bench. That is because both Alagard and Basicki can play right back. So it does just give us a little bit of backup there at wing if we do use Alagard as the right back. But there were Juventus. I think they look pretty similar to what they did in that first leg, and we'll get things back underway with a 1-0 lead. And 15 minutes into the second leg, we do have our first highlights. Radenko Krolo on a yellow card there early puts a ball into the mixer, but Juventus did deal with it. But we get this ball back out to Radenko Krolo, yet again puts a ball into the mixer, which Delict does deal with. But we hold possession here outside the box, play it in there for Adam Saki, albeit might be offside. We are going to have to wait here for a VAR check. Might be a similar case to the first game where Mizkic potentially there could have just taken the shot on like Lasana Doumbia. Probably should have, and indeed that goal has been disallowed for offside. Would have been a great time to score there to give us a cushion goal nice and early, but Saki a good stride or two offside, and it remains 1-0 after 16 minutes of the second leg. And just over 10 minutes off the back of that first highlight in the second leg, it is Juventus here with a free kick, but they give the ball away pretty softly there, albeit Lasana Doumbia can't quite link up with Mizkic, so we do continue here, but we're going to have to build from a lot deeper as Juventus to get a chance to clear their lines a bit better. But we are back on the attack here. Adam Saki just holds things up. Doumbia, a nice ball forward there to Agatigre as we do start to get on the front foot. Radenko Krolo will play that back for Lasana Doumbia. Krolo does well there to keep possession, and we steadily start to try and create a chance here in the second half. Agatigre plays that over for Benvenu Bayer, but that forces another good save there low to his right from Costa in goal. He is having a pretty good tie here against us. We do have a corner off the back of that, but can't quite link up, and it should remain 0-0 here on the day, 1-0 on aggregate, coming up to the half-hour mark, and indeed that is the case. And a few minutes off the back of that previous highlight, yet again Juventus having to try and play out from the back here, this time from a goal kick, and they try and hold on to position, play that back to Costa in goal, and get that out to Delit. We are certainly on top of them here in the second leg, but we need to get a goal, otherwise it might give them a chance to get back into this one as shown there through Emerson, but thankfully that goes just over the bar, and we are still 1-0 up with 10 minutes left in the first half of the second leg. And shortly off the back of that previous highlight, we do have another one, Juventus again clearing their lines, but we do get possession back, and pretty shortly make our way back into their half and try and get something going here down our left-hand side as Guy plays a nice ball forward there to Berger. Kitch, interesting tackle, but we play on an Tigre off the post. It's an absolute scramble, and somehow Costa gets that off the line. That looks like a very close call, but it is not a goal, and it's still 1-0 with about 10 minutes left of this first half. And yet again, very shortly off the back of that previous highlight, now we have a throw-in, so some good pressure here on Juventus. Hopefully, we get a cushion goal sooner rather than later, but yet again, Tigre hits the woodwork, so it's still 1-0. And we go forward now to the 40-minute mark, and yet again we are on the attack, so surely a goal is coming in this game, and Saki on the ball plays this one back for Jonathan Berger. He tries to put that top right corner, also hits the woodwork, so we are absolutely peppering that here late in the first half, but it does look like we might be going into the sheds, still locked up on the day, but 1-0 up on aggregate, and indeed that is the case. That's a little bit frustrating, as you can tell. We probably should have scored a goal at the very least there in that first half, but at the very least Juventus haven't threatened us too much. That is encouraging signs, as we do still hold a 1-0 lead on aggregate. We'll keep an eye out during the second half on Radenko Krolo, of course, with that yellow card, but at the moment quite happy with how we are playing, so we'll come back shortly and get things back underway. Still 1-0 up on aggregate in this quarterfinal. And about 10 minutes into the second half, no highlights yet, but we are going to make our first substitution. Radenko Krolo down to a 6.4 on a yellow card. We'll bring on Luis Herrera and switch out Jonathan Berger to right back and see if that can do the job. Still 1-0 up on aggregate, and not too long off the back of that first substitution, it is Juventus here with a throw-in inside the final third, albeit as the game just pauses there briefly. Doumbia is able to get in the way, and Carl Vollen clears that. Kitch, nice little flick header forward there, and Adam Saki starts to make his way down the left-hand side, and that's a good little bit of evasion from that tackle there from the Juventus defender, but Tigre's header goes just over the bar, and we still only have a 1-0 lead. And we're going forward now to the 66-minute mark, and this time it's Juventus with a throw-in, but this time deep inside their own half as they try and play out from the back. But so far, they haven't threatened us too much, albeit good work there from Benvenu Bayer, and we get the ball back again, and we are on the attack. Tigre from a tight angle. Can he square this for a teammate? Saki, he gets a shot off, but it's blocked, so Juventus continue to cling on. Still 1-0 with about 20 minutes left, and now we are down the other end for a Juventus free kick, which Ramadan does clear, and Tigre plays that back to Berger, who thumps this forward, and there's only one player back here for Juventus. Adam Saki makes his way out to the right-hand side, puts the ball into the mixer. Potential little bit of a Jordan Pickford moment there, though, for Costa. He will concede a corner, and this might give us a chance to grab that cushion goal, which we have been after here in this home league, and Filippo Donelli just puts that over the bar. We are certainly overdue here for a goal. Still 1-0 up with 20 minutes left, and we are going to make our second substitution at this time as well. Benvenu Bayer is down to a red heart, isn't on a green rating like his other midfield partners, so I think we'll take him off. Yet again, Bruno Costa will come on for him, and Lissano Doumbia will come forward into the Mazzala role with 18 minutes left. And with 10 minutes left, we are still locked up here at 0-0, and it is Juventus there with a free kick, as they do have one player off the field, might have gone off injured, so they potentially could be playing here with 10 men. Lissano Doumbia has picked up a yellow card, so we might deal with that off the back of this highlight, down to a red card as well, so we'll probably take him off. But Juventus here with a little bit of a spell. Hopefully we can hold on, and indeed we do. Luis Herrera there with a good here, and Adam Saki with a chance to wrap things up, but blast that over the bar. Still haven't scored here in the second leg, which is a little bit criminal when you do look at our XG, but we're going to make our last substitution. Basicki to come on for Doumbia, and we'll switch that midfield around a little bit for these last 8 minutes, still with a 1-0 lead. And we are about to enter injury time here in this second leg, still only up by 1 goal, so Juventus could still find a way to grab an equaliser on aggregate, but we have absolutely dominated them here in this second leg. But thankfully, our lack of efficiency in front of goal does not come back to bite us. The woodwork certainly helped out Juventus there late in that first half. Very good performance despite the fact we didn't score, and Juventus only got 2 shots off, 1 on target, and thankfully it wasn't a situation like HK against Leicester City. We did not concede, and we do go through off the back of that late goal scored by Adam Saki in the first leg, so we certainly could have made that one more comfortable, but we go through them based on the stats out of both of those legs. I think that is a fair enough result. We make our way through to yet another Champions League semi-final and do knock out the team which did get rid of the competition favourites in Chelsea. We'll just get through this post-match interview and see what did happen in the other match on our game day. Real Madrid have gone through to the semis as well off the back of an extra time win there against Paris Saint-Germain. So those are two of the semi-finalists found. We'll come back shortly, see if HK can find a way to make the semis of the Europa League and then reveal who we've got in the semis of the Champions League in tomorrow's episode. And we are back, having gone forward a few days off the back of that draw in the second league against Juventus. Not quite sure how we didn't score in that game, but thankfully that slight giveaway there late in the first leg did make sure that we found our way through by a scoreline of 1-0. First things first, HK actually doing pretty well again against Leicester City. They pick up a 2-2 draw at home, albeit it isn't enough for them to go through to the semi-finals. They get knocked out by a scoreline of 6-4, so they certainly put up a good fight there against the English team. It's big steps forward there by HK in the knockouts of the Europa League for the first time, but that is the end of their European journey. But certainly a very, very good effort there by HK in the knockouts of the Europa League, as I said, for the first time. Certainly the most help we've got so far from a fellow Icelandic team in this save. But now it's time to look at who else made their way through to the semi-finals in the Champions League. You already saw it was us and Real Madrid out of the top half of the draw. Barcelona did get the job done over Sevilla, albeit potentially by a slightly smaller scoreline than you might anticipate, 2-1 on aggregate. So they are through, and on our side of the draw, we are yet again taking on Manchester United. They picked up a 3-0 win there at Old Trafford, go through very comfortably by 7-1 there over AC Milan. So two of the competition favourites are facing each other in the semi-final. It's a rematch from the past 3 Champions League finals, 2 of which we have won, and this time it won't be in a final. We need to beat Manchester United if we want to make our way into a 5th straight Champions League final. But a quick look at these guys. We are very, very familiar with this team, having played them, as I said, in the past 3 Champions League finals, still managed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and their formation and team still looks pretty similar as well. Still got Joe Corcoran staying in goal over a much better looking option in Ismail Adine as well. And they have overtaken Chelsea to now be top of the Premier League, albeit just 1 point clear of them and Manchester City, albeit both of those teams do have a game in hand over Chelsea. So it does look like Pep just struggling yet again to complete the happy endings both in the Champions League and in the Premier League, albeit his team are close enough that they could certainly turn that around. But it's another matchup coming up tomorrow against Manchester United, but this time it is in the semi-finals instead of the final. But that will do it for today's episode. We pick up a win over Juventus, not by the biggest scoreline, but I think in terms of performance, we deserve to make our way through, and we are taking on Manchester United in tomorrow's episode. If you did enjoy today's one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. And until tomorrow for the semi-final of the Champions League against Man United, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.